Hey, Boomer.
Hey, good morning, guys. I know that this morning's got to be a pretty difficult morning because when you look at this game yesterday, I mean, the Patriots basically dominated this game from start to finish, except for 5 turnovers. And I'm sure Mike Vrabel is going to have a talking to the fellas this morning because, I mean, this was one that they handed to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, tough to win when you give them the ball 5 times, and the first time that has happened here since 2008. And I would imagine that when you look back at it, if you're Mike Vrabel, that's one that got away from you.
You're sick to your stomach. I mean, you gave up 203 yards. The Steelers only ran 49 offensive plays. They were barely on the field. And if I had to evaluate Drake Maye, I would give him probably a B minus. If he doesn't turn the ball over, doesn't throw an interception in the end zone, it's probably going to be an A. I mean, there are a couple things that he's just got to clean up. He's getting close, and you could see that he has all the physical ability to do this. And it's the decision making, it's sometimes the hesitation, it's the little things that really separate the great players from the good players. And watching this yesterday and just watching a couple moments in these games where all of a sudden the ball was either on the ground or it was in the other team's hands, you're saying to yourself, you clean that mess up, you are right there. I'm not saying with the best teams in the league, but you're certainly there in the top 15 teams in the league.
Ramondre Stevenson led the league last year when it came to fumbles by a running back. Can you keep giving him the football with any kind of confidence whatsoever?
I know they're trying to say that they desperately need him because when he is running and he's running at the top of his game, he's a very good running back, but the fumbles are the things that are going to cost him. And, you know, if Mike Vrabel is anything like Bill Belichick, Ramondre Stevenson's probably not going to see the ball for 2 weeks, I would think.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was the way that Bill, put it into the heads of the players that he's not going to be, standing for fumbles and turnovers, especially when you're going into the end zone. I mean, there are fumbles and there are turnovers, and then there are really back-breaking killer turnovers, and the Patriots had 3 of those yesterday, at least 3 of those.
Boomer, you talk about Drake Maye doing the little things. You were there. You were in that position. When does a young player start to realize, here's what I need to do? When does that switch kind of go on where they don't make those mistakes?
It's different for all of us, and for me, it wasn't until the middle of my second year, but, by that time I was, and the game was different back then too. I mean, significantly different. Everything is so built around the turnover now and, being a high percentage passer, managing the pocket right, not thinking that every play is the last play. You got to live to play the next play without making a mistake. So, I mean, this is Josh McDaniels. This is what he has to ingrain into Drake Maye, that when they sit down today, they watch the tape, they're going to be talking about 2 of these turnovers. The fumble in the pocket is one that, it's taken too long. Like, you got to process. You either have a play, you can either take off with it, or you got to get rid of it. And not everybody's Patrick Mahomes, and maybe one day he'll turn into Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. But I will say there's enough there that I see that he can be a really, really top-end player in this league. He's just got to start evaluating things a little bit quicker. I mean, he had a really good game in terms of pass, percentages, completion percentage. It's just the 2 turnovers that ultimately end up doing them in. So I would say he's close, Jermaine. I just think that, younger players sometimes just think that the play has to be made. And when Tom Brady was at the top of his game, Peyton Manning at the top of his game, Aaron Rodgers at the top of his game in this generation, they knew that they could live to play another down. And Drake is just not there yet. He's still trying to create too many plays, and making those too many plays are leading to the turnover.
Good time to get this week's Drake Take from Boomer, which is presented by your New England Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive. Post-game, he put the Pop Douglas mistake on himself, saying that he wished he had reminded those guys in the huddle that you gotta catch and get upfield. That's leadership, I guess, but it's not on him.
It's not on him at all. No, that's on Douglas 100%. And I understand What Drake's doing, he's just trying to take a little pressure off of his teammate. And it's one play, but it's a significant play in the game. And, that's football awareness. That's football IQ. That's understanding where you are in the game and what the responsibilities are for you if the ball is thrown to you. Now, I know some fans like to say, why don't they go past the sticks and then you throw it past the sticks and then it would be an automatic first down? That's not how plays are designed unless you change that play in the huddle for a specific reason. Most plays are designed like you practice them all the time. And then if you get the ball to the player quickly, let's say you get it to Ramondre Stevenson behind the line of scrimmage and it's 3rd and 5. It's up to Ramondre Stevenson to break a tackle or to make somebody miss because I'm reading downfield as a quarterback and my guys downfield aren't open, so I have to drop it off to my 2nd or 3rd receiver, and then that guy's got to go make a play. And on this particular play, Douglas, it was almost like he forgot where they were in the game, what he needed to get. And that's the frustrating part for the coach, because you're thinking that these players have the awareness to go ahead and make a play like that.
Boomer, one part of Drake Maye's game yesterday that had me excited, that has me feeling like he could be the guy here for the long term, is that he doesn't seem to have a binky. He doesn't go to one guy specifically. He spreads the wealth. Is that something that is very impressive when you look at a guy who's still pretty young in his career?
Yeah, when I think about Tom Brady, when he was playing at the top of his game, he got a lot of guys involved. I mean, I know Hunter Henry seems to be his favorite, but when you start looking through, the pass receiving yesterday, you could see that there's like 8 guys that are involved. And that's a part of Josh McDaniels' offense, too. I mean, you'd like to have your bell cow wide receiver that's going to be the guy that's going to go 80 yards anytime he touches the ball. I don't necessarily know that the Patriots have that, but at least Drake is a high percentage passer. He's a guy that's reading defenses. That's what that shows you. It's just that he's still kind of like trying to make the great play every play. And that's something you don't want to take away from a player, but hopefully the more he plays, the more he gets comfortable, the less likely he is to force that turnover the way he did yesterday.
Boomer, you mentioned Tom Brady. We played your sound last week when you reacted to the viral clip of Tom Brady wearing the headset in the Vegas Raiders coach's box. Why is it, I'm just curious, how is this going to lead to a massive competitive imbalance if players know that when they're talking to Tom Brady, it could get to the Raiders, so maybe they'll just say nothing in those meetings?
You know why? Because information's valuable in the NFL, and it leads to victories. This is why there was Spygate. This is why, there are all these coaches are paranoid all throughout the league, because they don't want anybody to know anything about their roster. They don't want to know if Caleb Williams is dealing with a knee. They don't want to know if they don't want anybody to know that. It's interesting because Tom did the Bears yesterday, and now, his Raiders get to play the Bears. So it's almost like he's an advanced scout. I mean, there are things that, he's probably heard through the production meetings of other people talking to Ben Johnson, other people talking to Caleb Williams. It really is a conflict of interest. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And
he was all over you this week on this take, Boomer.
That's fine. I mean, like, we're all allowed to have an opinion about this, but I know from
I wasn't the only one, Boomer. Curtis said you were jealous of Brady, so I got to be honest.
He said that's what drove it, was the jealousy.
Hey, for 20 years, I sat here and told you he was the greatest quarterback who's ever played the game, and I had nothing but respect for him, and I had to say that last week before I tore into the conflict of interest part of it. And, in this day and age, everybody cuts things in half. So, I mean, but at the end of the day, for me, I don't see how the other 31 owners, coaches, and general managers, and knowing the paranoia that is within the NFL, how that isn't a thing within the NFL. It is. It's all there is to it. So they're going to let him do it. I mean, I understand that because he's Tom Brady and he can do whatever he wants. But there's no doubt that in the eyes of many in this league, information is knowledge. Knowledge is a competitive advantage. And he has intimate information on the teams that he's covering. And he's also working with a team. And supposedly, and Pete Carroll dialed this back a little bit, he's talking to Chip Kelly 3-4 times a week. He's talking to, Pete. He's talking to Spytech, his buddy, his college roommate, who's the GM there. I mean, come on. I mean, it's obvious.
All right. Question of the week for Boomer is brought to you by McFarland Energy, the region's most dependable provider of home heating oil delivery and expert HVAC services at McFarlandEnergy.com. Speaking of guys who used to play the position here, Mac Jones just keeps winning football games.
Yeah, I guess Kyle Shanahan, I should say Mike Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is the quarterback whisperer. I mean, he did throw a bad interception late in this game yesterday that I thought was going to cost the 49ers the game, and I was like, oh, my God, there's the Mac Jones that we saw in New England. But to his credit, playing with a sprained PCL, by the way, he ended up leading them back to a victory. Now, that's 2 victories that he's led the 49ers to as their backup quarterback, which you couldn't ask for more if you are Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. I think about these backup quarterbacks that are playing right now, and you gotta think that he is right there at the top of the food chain when it comes to a guy that it seems like Kyle Shanahan trusts. So the other big story really is Daniel Jones and his performance. And then especially when you put it in contrast to what the New York Giants did last night against Kansas City. I mean, Brian Daboll is under a massive fire here. They want Jackson. The fans want Jackson Dart. I don't know what he's going to do. It's probably the last card he has left to play before, ownership starts talking about, who's going to be running this team next year. So they're really at a crossroads right now down here in New York.
There was another near incident of elder abuse last night during that game.
Yes.
Travis Kelce all over Andy Reid. Can he leave the guy alone?
Yeah, I don't know what Travis is doing. I mean, he's towards the end of his career. He's pulling a trailer around like Jermaine was when Jermaine was at the end of his career.
I pulled the trailer early in my career, too. I wasn't very fast.
I don't know. Andy has a way of kind of diffusing all of that. And after the game last night, he goes, that's just Travis. He's all worked up. I don't know if Taylor was at the game or not. Taylor lives literally about a mile from where I'm sitting right now. And I would assume that she was at the game. Maybe she was hiding. I'm not sure. But, maybe he just wanted to have more of a better performance for her if she was in attendance.
Wiggy was here Saturday at Gillette when Bill Parcells was inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Where do you rank him all time?
Who's that?
Bill Parcells.
Oh, man, I'll tell you, he is he's a top 10 coach in the league for me. I think just simply because, he did it with, 3 different franchises, had success, had a unique way of going about the way that he would coach. We'd always have his guys around him that understood his methods. And I think Bill Belichick has tried to, take some of that and do that himself. But I think he was a terrific coach, a terrific motivator, but in short bursts. I mean, it's hard to see a guy like him lasting 10 years in one spot just simply because he's driving everybody into the ground, but nonetheless, still a top 10 coach in my eyes.
All right. Well, Scheim has been all over Josh McDaniels this morning when it comes to the offense. Scheim, you want to ask Boomer how much of it is on Josh or?
Well, yeah, I just look back at week 2, and they did a great job of getting Drake out of the pocket, moving him around, and then you see the end of the first half sequence inside the 5-yard line where it's straight drop back on a play-action pass that Drake saves a giant sack loss from with throwing the ball away, and then you get another drop back fade to the backcourt of the end zone, which is a bad play call, and then the third pass is a tipped pass at the line of scrimmage when you had 3 timeouts.
Yeah, well, maybe they don't trust their running backs because they fumble the goddamn ball too much. How about that? Yeah, you ever think about that? Like, you're standing there on the sideline, you're Josh McDaniels, and you're like, the damn running backs keep fumbling the freaking ball.
To that point, though, the running backs hadn't fumbled at least, right?
Yeah, but maybe they saw it in the future. I don't know, but I understand your frustrations that those 3 plays in particular, especially ending with an interception. By the way, that ball was tipped. I will say that. But what I didn't like about that particular play is I don't think Drake threw it in the right spot. He needed to throw it in the back corner as opposed to try to drive it to his wide receiver or his tight end, I think it was.
Right.
But you got to throw it back in the corner over the top of everybody, and this way the ball wouldn't have gotten tipped to the line of scrimmage. That should have been a touchdown. He had a wide open wide receiver. He just threw the wrong type of pass.
Boomer, you would be the best person to ask this. Do you get better in terms of pocket presence as your career goes on, or is that sort of something intuitively you should have when you arrive in the NFL?
I think it gets better as you go on, especially if your offensive line is getting better with you. if you're completely under siege. And the player that I would say who is under siege right now is C.J. Stroud. Like C.J. Stroud's getting hit left and right all over the place. And, you know, people say, oh, C.J. Stroud's regressing. And I would agree with that to a certain point. But when you look at the inexperience on his offensive line, he's under fire. So he's naturally going to be thinking that there's going to be pressure coming throughout the game. But in the case of Drake, I really think that I see the poise that's required. I see that. What I see is a guy that wants to make a play and not live to play another down. And it's a kind of fine line. I kind of feel like Drake's getting there. I feel like he's showing enough that I think they got to be pretty confident in who he is as a player. And I'm sure when he goes to work today, he probably got no sleep last night because all he was thinking about was the interception and the fumble. And if that's the case, then you got the right guy playing quarterback.
Boomer, thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, look forward to it, guys. Have a good week.